Located at the foot of the Ozark Mountains, Steelville is known as the float capital of Missouri. Streets are decorated with canoes that serve as welcome signs to the thousands of visitors this small town receives every summer. But it is its topography that makes it unique and keeps nature lovers returning year after year.
One of the things that makes it unique is that we are on the very edge of what they call the Ozark Plateau. We have one major river and two creeks, or what they call the Hood on the Cotaway and the Merrimack. The Merrimack is actually started down around Salem, Missouri, and meanders up this direction, whereas the Hoods on the Cotaway are closer. So they've been cutting away over all these millions of years, and that's why we have the terrain that we have today. But there's lots of springs. I mean, there are just hundreds of springs in this area. There's a spring here in town that never runs empty. It's I don't know the volume that comes out of it, but it always runs. It is the spring that they dammed up to create the grist mill that James Steele built. And it runs right through town. It's the reason why Steelville's here, because there was a spring.
Before tourists discovered Steelville, one of its earliest industries also revolved around the river. After felling large trees, they would then be floated downstream for processing. And the laws that allowed for these logs to be transported via the waterways is still on the books and now allows floaters to enjoy the waters without crossing fence lines.
The river started being part of the tourism industry because there was a plan to actually dam the Merrimack. This would have been about 1972, that era. It was going to be the Merrimack Dam. It was going to be built down in the Sullivan area. Well, the property owners that owned some property along the Cotaway basically came up with, hey, come float the river before they dam it.
But tourism in Steelville actually got its start many years earlier, when people from across the region came to enjoy the rolling hills and natural spring waters.
Before the Lake of the Ozarks was built, Steelville was where you came. Steelville is where all the Chicagoans came. The Ozarks are where all the people from Illinois, all the people from St. Louis. It was huge. I mean, it was huge. This is where people came to get away. It was just a train ride down, or by the 1920s, a Model T ride away. So people would come for weeks. They would stay for weeks. And it was a huge part of the industry, and it still is to this day.
During this time, guests had their choice of over half a dozen resorts, but none was more impressive than Wildwood Springs Lodge. Still in use today, this grand resort was the first to offer indoor plumbing and electricity. But like many of the other period lodges in Steelville, it is what it doesn't offer that keeps generation after generation coming back. No telephones or televisions in the rooms, and no Wi-Fi helps transport people to a time when interacting with each other and with nature was not taken for granted.
It takes you back to a simpler time when people just read newspapers, or sat on the front porches and drank a cup of coffee, or listened to some music, or even listen to just birds sing. And watch sunsets. It's just a simpler time. When they come down the front steps and they walk into the lobby, everything that bothered them or was a problem to them or was a concern to them didn't come in the building with them. They literally walk into a different time and a different space. And I've had every customer that's ever stayed here tell me that. And when they walk in that front door, it just goes away.
Wildwood Springs Resort regularly hosts music artists like Poco, Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and Don McLean in its grand lobby. Open to the public, these concerts include dinner in the adjacent dining room. In operation since the 1930s, Hearst Ranch was started by Sam Hicks and promoted itself through postcards that guests could mail to their family and friends.